Sawabanane family, we see you, we honor you, and we value you. Your gifts, along with God's grace, allow us to persevere, to mentor, and prepare new leaders as we co-create for future generations. The Proctor Conference is where future meets legacy. We are committed to the forward crusade of faith, equity, and reparatory justice, nationally and globally. We are the place where Ubuntu becomes reality. Your gifts to the Legacy Campaign enables our success, our sustainability, and secures the future. With vision, by faith, and through action, we are the Proctor Conference.
I'm so grateful that there is in this world something called the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference. You've been on the wall doing the work. Sister Iva Carruthers and so many others, you represent the best of our faith. You represent the faith of the Black church, the conscience of the American churches. Thank you for the work that you do.
Family, the time has come to work the roots. The roots of Samuel DeWitt Proctor, Gardner C. Taylor, Pauli Murray, Bayard Rustin, and the list continues. As the mission of the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference continues to shape our ethos and worldview. Join us today by committing an annual, one-time, or recurring gift to the SDPC Legacy Campaign. We pray that you and your loved ones have been and will remain the benefactors of God's grace and mercy. Thank you.
Proctor family, thank you for your continued support of the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference. It is through your faithfulness, your participation, and your gifts that we are able to be the place and the space where future meets legacy. It is because of you that we have formed cohorts of clergy and pastoral leaders, that we engage the epicenters of equity and economics, and that we are fortunate to create life-changing experiences as we elevate education, advocacy, and activism. Continue to partner with us as we prepare to journey into our 20th year with vision, by faith, and through action.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And Sal Bonani, we see you, we hear you, we respect you. You are important to us. Welcome to Faithful Fridays. My name is Reverend Dr. Susan Smith, and I'm the Director of Clergy and Leadership Development at the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference. And on Fridays, we do Faithful Fridays, where we give you messages that hopefully inspire you to pray with your feet and help do the work of lifting God's people in this country where so many lives are marginalized and where so many people are ignored. Today, this week, many of us are reeling with the news that Stephen Twitch Boss, who used to be on the Ellen DeGeneres show, committed suicide. He was only 40 years old. And 4 days ago, he posted on TikTok a piece where he was smiling and dancing and clowning, but the next day he shot himself in the head. I still can't wrap my head around it. The news was shocking, but it leads me to share that the suicide rate of Black people is increasing, especially among Black youth and Black men. We don't talk about it much, but psychologists, in speaking about the rising suicide rate of Black men, say that, quote, Black men often suffer in silence, end quote. The definition of maleness in this country results in men not feeling safe, not feeling masculine enough, and expressing their inner pain. They have been socialized to believe that to admit hurting emotionally is a sign of weakness, and so they won't do it, but they hurt. You can't be in this society and go through the stuff that we go through as people and not hurt. While rates of suicide and anxiety have risen sharply during the pandemic, a recent study from the Journal of the American Medical Association finds that suicide attempts are rising at an alarming rate and have been and were rising long before COVID-19. That study found that Black males had the highest increase in suicide attempts compared to any other race in the group that they studied, increasing nearly 80%. The son of actress Regina King committed suicide right after his 26th birthday. I know people here in the city of Columbus, young people who were activists, powerful activists, committed suicide. Nobody even knew that they were hurting. Regina King's son committed suicide after his 26th birthday, and neither she nor his father saw any signs. There was no indication. Nobody knew that he was hurting so deeply, and then he was gone. And now nobody will ever know what was causing him that much pain. The Scientific American Journal referred to a 2018 study that found that Black children, listen to this, between the ages of 5 and 12 are about as twice as likely to die by suicide as white children in the same age group. I don't understand that. Do you understand that? The urgency to deal with the issue has only grown more acute. A new study found that suicide rates among Black children and adolescents have recently been worsening. Between 2003 and 2017, suicides rose in this group, especially among Black girls, whose rate of increase was more than twice as high as that of Black boys. We have a problem. We have a problem. The rates are still going up. Our theme for today's Faithful Fridays message is recalling, remembering, and reclaiming. And it seems that now more than ever that we need to do that. You know, colonization by empires didn't just affect the way we are governed, it affected the way we think about and regard ourselves. Those who colonized us didn't care about us as individuals. They don't even regard us as human beings, many of them. They didn't care about the people's beliefs that they colonized, or their values, or their language, or their culture. All of us in this country have been trying to survive and fit into a society that made it virtually impossible for us to do so. And they have exacerbated the pain that causes by having taken away our languages, our beliefs, and an understanding of our history. In fact, they say that we and other colonized people don't have a history. And nobody can live that way. I work very hard in my family to set things and set up traditions so that our children, my children, will know who they are, where they came from, who their grandparents and great-grandparents were, and what they did, and the things that they got over. We talk about it. We have to talk about it. And I think that we have to, because nobody can live and survive and thrive in a place that doesn't regard them as human. We all have to have something to lean on and to recall that will make us laugh, that will make us know who we are, that will give us strength. We have to recall who we are, recall how our ancestors made it through the lion's dens and the fiery furnaces of their lives. We have to remember that in spite of all that has been done to destroy us, the powers and principalities have never been able to do that. We just keep on coming, and we have to tell that to ourselves and tell that to our children and let that give us strength. We have to give our children a sense of their greatness in spite of a world that is still racist and will probably always be. We have to recall and remember, and then reclaim ourselves to ourselves, and our children have to see us doing it. I heard a conversation recently about how our children suffer when their parents put them into what are called good schools. Most of these are private schools, or many of them are private schools, and they're predominantly white. And the culture within those schools is comfortable for the white students, but non-white students often find themselves feeling alone and isolated, unappreciated, and maybe even scorned, resented. I remember a newspaper publisher that I had in Texas when I got into Yale Divinity School laughed at me and said, you can't get into there. When I told him that I had gotten in, he just walked away. But the sheer arrogance, it was an awful memory. And so many of our kids have those memories, and maybe they never talk about them. They're not even memories yet, they're experiences, and maybe they don't talk about them. But in those schools, there's no love, no concern, and no embracing of who they are and what they have done and how they've gotten through all of the barriers and obstacles that have been put in their way. And if you combine that with the fact that this world is increasingly loud in its affirmation and its practice of racism. I will never say white supremacy again. I call it white domination, and I call it other things that I'm not going to say here, but they're affirmations of toxic racism and sexism and gender bias and homophobia and transphobia and xenophobia. You have a recipe for despair. The kids are having to deal with that, and they don't know who to talk to. Many of them don't go to church. Many of them don't want to go to church, but they are hurting. And then if you add to what they're going through in school, if you add the bullying And the ostracization that takes place on social media, the toxicity of the negative aspects of being non-white and non-male and non-cisgender in this country increases. Our children and our people are being affected, and we have to know it. We have to know it. We have to see it. We have to talk about it. And then we have to work as a community to do something about it. A lot of young people in particular, and Black people in general, will not talk about their emotional pain. They think it means that their faith is weak or questionable, but not talking about it only makes people descend deeper into a bad place. Yes, we have to pray, but yes, sometimes we have to go to the doctor and get some medicine. We have to talk about things to get it out, because that stuff clogs up our spirits. We have, as a people, much to celebrate, much to recall about how we got over, about how we made it through the roughest times in our lives. We have much to remember how God turned our mourning into dancing and gave us garlands of praise to wear, in spite of the fact that things were being done to make us hold our heads down and just bemoan the day that we were born. And we have much to reclaim about our history, how, in spite of how the colonizers tried to wipe out our history and the history of so many ethnic groups, they did not succeed. We have to know these stories, and we have to tell them to our children. We have to lift up that it is not a bad thing or a sign of weakness to talk to somebody when we're hurting or scared or angry or lonely. Life is all of that. If you are alive, you're going to feel all of that and more. And we have to let our people and our young people know that is what life is. Prayer works, but often, like I said, in addition to praying, we need therapy, we need medication. Our emotional selves, hear me on this. Our emotional selves need as much care and attention as do our physical selves. And we all know that when or if we do not address physical warnings that our bodies give us that something is wrong, it usually doesn't work out well. So there we are. That's for this Friday. We call, remember, reclaim, and then share it with your children, share it with your young people, share it, talk about it, make them open their eyes so that they can see things that they maybe never saw before. Help the scales to fall off of their eyes and away from their hearts. Talk to them about how it is okay to admit that they're not feeling good in their spirits. Lead them to the help that they need. The pandemic of Black despair is growing, and we cannot ignore it. Recall, remember, and share who we are and whose we are. Go to see somebody or find a therapist online. There's lots of them now. You can go online and find all types of outlets where you can pick a therapist, and you can find the one that suits where you are, with whom you relate, who's going to do you the most good. We don't have to sit in our homes or go to school or to our jobs and feel nothing but this despair that just clamps on our spirits and on our hearts and makes us not want to live anymore. And then finally, remember that life is hard, that love don't love nobody, and that trouble don't last always, like the old people would sing. Sing that song, meditate on that song, share that song, remind your loved ones of the truth of that song, especially when you feel like you don't want to go on. Remember that and reclaim your battered spirit, or help a loved one reclaim theirs. Have a wonderful Friday. Have a wonderful Friday. And I hope that you are registering for our 2023 Proctor Conference, which will be in Atlanta. Visit our website, www.sdpconference.info, to register, to get information about who's going to be there. Register, get somebody else with you to register as well. Bring your friends or bring your family. I'm sure you know people who have never been to an SDPC conference. Talk to them, get them to register and come, and let's see each other face to face. Again, I close with saying, Sal Bonani, we see you. We better see ourselves. We see you, we respect you, we honor you. You are important to us. With that thought, take this Faithful Fridays message and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Proctor family, if you haven't registered for the 20th Annual Clergy and Lay Leadership Conference, February 20th through 23rd, in the beautiful city of Atlanta, Georgia, don't put it off any longer. Prices will increase December 31st. And yes, seminarians, your 15% discount will continue. Please be mindful, if you are an exhibitor or a vendor with a special product, whether it be an educational product or a clothing product, You can participate in this year's conference as well. Visit our website, sdpconference.info, for more information.